We're going to work on drawing forms today. The first thing I did up here to show you is I drew some basic shapes so we can think about these shapes and how we would actually turn those in to three-dimensional forms, what we would need to do. Shapes are two-dimensional. They have height and they have width, but now we have to add that third dimension, which is depth. If you have a ruler, that's great. If you don't, find some kind of straight edge. I like to use lined paper when we're just doing practice drawings, because if I have lines on my paper, I have some guide marks to start my shape. And that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start a shape first, and then we're gonna turn it into a line. When we take this square, we're gonna start by putting guide dots on one of our lines. We're going to make two horizontal guide dots. Okay, you can make those a little bit further than an inch apart. Let's just measure there a little bit further. Then in between the lines, right in the middle here, we're going to get two guide dots that are closer together. The vertical dots are closer together. Now, when I connect them, I'm going to start with a shape, which is going to be kind of like a skinny diamond. Okay, if we use our lined paper, that makes it a whole lot easier. I'm going to try to be quick about this, and then you can follow along with the video, and then you can always go back. Okay, so we're starting with this skinny diamond, and now we are going to go do the sides. Start at your guide dot and draw straight down. We're going to make three vertical lines, one from each guide dot. We're not going to worry right now about how long these lines are. We just want to make three of them. Okay, now to add the bottom of my cube, I need to go back and look at the line that I drew here above it. Every line on a cube has two exactly like it. So I've got one line here, they're exactly alike. And now I'm going to go down and I'm going to try to make another diagonal line that is exactly like the other one. Okay, so every line in a cube has two partners. Look at your vertical lines. You got one, it has two partners. Okay, so after I have those lines in, you can take a look, see how it is, and erase the rest. When we're drawing a cube, if it doesn't look right, if something looks funny, the main thing we need to do is check our diagonal lines and see that they are all parallel to each other. Okay, now we've added depth, and we've done that by adding this diagonal line to our cube. Our next shape that we're going to make three-dimensional is a triangle. We could do this actually two ways, but let's start just with a simple triangle. Use your bottom line, or use your lined paper. Okay, so we start with a shape. We've got height and we've got width. How are we going to make that three-dimensional? Well, over here, we made this three-dimensional by adding a diagonal line. So we can do that here as well. So if I go to the bottom and I add a diagonal line, what do I have? I've got a form. I have a pyramid. So diagonal lines help us to add depth to a shape, but another type of line does too. Let's do the same triangle, kind of the same triangle, however you want to do it. We're going to make the two sides of the triangle, but let's do something different with the bottom. At the bottom, instead of making it straight across, let's add a curve. And now we have a cone, and a cone is a form because a cone, or this curved line, lets us know that something continues back here, okay, that we can't see. There's something back here. So that type of line also helps us to make a shape into a form. So when we look at this rectangle, we could do two things. We could add diagonal lines, and we could make that into a cube, a rectangular prism, but let's turn it into something different. Let's start with a set of vertical lines. And then at the top and the bottom, let's make that curved line. I'm going to start at the bottom. We really want to try to make the bottom and the top curves exactly the same. I'm drawing it really dark so you can see it. Okay. And now we have to add we know that when we have a curved line, it's going to continue. So we're going to flip this line over and make the back part of that oval. So there's the top of our cylinder. Okay. Now we have this thing here. How are we going to make that into a form? Well, first let's start with a circle. And I can't put my pencil down and make a perfect circle the first time. So maybe you can, I don't know. But I'm just going to kind of sketch around really lightly. You know, draw light so you get it right. Until I find something that I'm happy with. How am I going to make this different from this, right? It has height and it has width. So how do I add depth? We have to have this curve. So in a math class, you might learn to do this, right? And have like sort of a contour to show that it goes around. You might learn that. But in an art way, what we're going to do is we're going to add some value or some shading. And we're going to take our pencil and we're going to kind of color in a little bit. Dark on the outside edge, just really lightly, to just kind of indicate that that shape has a thickness, has a depth that is rounded. Okay? So when you submit your photo, you should have these 4 basic forms. Actually, we've got 5 basic forms. Either one of these, either way that you want to alter the triangle is fine. Okay, but I would like to see you do a square that you've modified into a cube, a triangle that you've modified into a cone or a triangular prism. The rectangle becomes a cylinder and the circle becomes a sphere.